When Paul one for all women, this is your friend James. This is what the shirt says. Pray for me is much bigger than the time. But we're going to talk about today immature politicians. Immature politicians. There's mature politicians. There's immature politicians. We're going to talk how to spot an immature politician and to stay away from them. Don't vote for them. And if you accidentally voted for them already and you've seen the fruits of their immaturity and now you know they're immature, congratulations. Don't vote for them anymore. And this will work and help you do it even incrementally about parents, families, church leadership, school boards, bosses, coaching staffs, anything dealing with maturity versus immaturity in leadership. So let's start. Immature politicians. One, they don't acknowledge established history concerning different political thoughts and ideas. This is very important. They always make an excuse for something that has been established as not working. So first of all, they will not recognize the history of a thought process of government that does not work. They will say, for instance, abolish the government. We already know from history that when there's no government, even in the book of Joshua, no Judges, it said there was no king in Israel, everyone did what was right in their eyes. So basically, that's anarchy. You can do whatever you want to, and we already know this doesn't work. But an immature politician will say, well, they just didn't do anarchy properly in that context. Well, we know that socialism doesn't work. We know that communism doesn't work. Well, it just didn't work. Every year, human beings have tried to do this. It doesn't seem to work. It doesn't eliminate poverty. But what they do, they make an excuse for it. They say it didn't quite work that way. You know, it's already established it's not working. The law of gravity works, and you can't explain it away because it doesn't. So first of all, they won't acknowledge established history. They'll twist history. They'll leave off stuff, call them indentured servants instead of slaves. There were indentured servants in the United States of America. There were slaves. These are two different groups of people, but they don't acknowledge established history concerning different political thoughts and ideas. They will ignore it. They'll leave off. They'll blindly say this is wonderful. Seeing what communism has done to China, they'll still talk about Mao Zedong being a great, awesome person. He's not a great, awesome person. He did not bless China. Karl Marx, communism. He did not bless the USSR. After 70 years, the thing went bankrupt. And look at the state of Russia right now. The President Putin, they're trying to pull this out. Why? Because that doesn't work. Look at Cuba. People are ignoring history. So if that's an immature politician, ignores established history of a system. Two, they think more highly of themselves, using phrases about knowing more. We know more than the people. This is pride, referring to the people as a separate group of people from themselves. Be careful. This is how you spot an immature politician. They tend to stay away from phrases like my fellow Americans and my fellow citizens. They say things like, we are in charge, so we know more than you, so we can see the bigger picture. So, you see how they're separating themselves from the people? Like a monarch who's inside his castle, and the people are out there, let them eat cake. That lady, that queen who accidentally got into history for saying that. The people don't have bread, let them eat cake. They separate themselves, just like a CEO who separates themselves. He's on vacation during Christmas holidays, and his people are working, in the office still, answering phone calls when everybody should be on vacation. But this is one thing they do. They think more highly. They start getting puffed up. I'm now in the mayor's office. I'm now in the governor's office. I am now responsible for these. This is pride. I've heard wicked parents do this with their kids. It's my job to protect you and stuff like that when they were actually just using that as an excuse. But anyways, they think more highly of themselves. They start getting the big head. So that's how you start following a politician. They start using these, they don't start saying my fellow Americans. They stop actually using those phrases. They stay away from that. They don't like we the people. That's why wicked communists and socialists really just don't like we the people of the United States of America, in order to establish a more perfect union. That's everybody working together, the three parts of government, checks and balances. The legislature is on top, the executive is below it, and the judicial system is below that. Number three, immature politicians, they treat money they get from taxes as their own. School boards do this a lot. I mean, this is an immature politician. They're not a good steward or acknowledge that they're not spending other people's money. They treat it as their own. The money comes in from the taxes, and they do whatever they want to do with it. They forget that they're supposed to be a good steward, and they forget that they're using other people's money. That's why a lot of school systems and public systems have been failing, because they treat it as their own money. They didn't have to earn it. They're not going to go out of business if they put out junk education and the kids come out foolish and silly. They don't care because they already have a paycheck that's coming in, but they consider that paycheck their own. The public school did not make that money. It was given to them. And an immature politician will treat that money like it's their own. They won't consider, wait a second, this is somebody else's money. I need to be a good steward. I don't need to be wasting the people's money. But they treat it like their own. Like, yeah, I can do whatever I want to. I can give it to this. You give this to a group, and then they give it to I didn't want to say name. They give it to a party. You bail out this organization, and then they furlough all the people who are in the organization and give several $1 million to this party. See, that's other people's money, but they're treating it and doing whatever they want to with it, like it's not theirs, like it's their money and not someone else's. 4, that's an immature politician. They use government as a vehicle to expand their own influence or wealth or political agenda. These are different. First of all, they use it to expand their own wealth. They start signing book deals. This is an immature politician. They start making deals for their family members, in other countries and stuff like that. They're expanding their influence. They're using, I'm now in the governor's office, so now let me increase my social media account and stuff like that. They use government as a vehicle to expand wealth, signing book deals and doing this stuff that help them personally. I'm now the president, so I'll go and start doing all these talks and stuff like that and make books and do stuff. Or they use government as a vehicle to push their own private, personal, political agenda. This is all selfishness. This is an immature politician. It's all, you notice it's about them, their own influence. They want their kid to have a job, so they use their influence, their own wealth, their own political agenda. They started, their net worth was $20,000 when they got elected, and now their net worth is $1,900 million. Come on, that's $1.9 billion if you know $1,900 million. So they use it instead of, they use it for their own influence, wealth, or political agenda. Instead of expanding the wealth and dreams and lives of the people they were elected to represent. Instead of expanding the wealth of others, an immature politician thinks about themselves. Instead of expanding the dreams of others, they think about themselves. Instead of trying to help people who need to do work, they think about themselves. Instead of, instead of enriching the lives of other people, they are thinking about themselves. That's total selfishness, and it's very easy to spot when a governor is doing that, when a mayor is doing that, because you see them doing very little. You don't see them hitting up the schools. If you're a governor, you should probably be at a school at least once every other week. A mayor. And when's the last time the mayor visited? When's the last time someone visited the primary school? When they go to a town hall? When have they gone to a church? When have they showed up at a, prayer rally? Why? Because they're thinking about themselves. They got other stuff to do about themselves. That's an immature person. 5, they see citizens as parts of a large mechanism. This is very, very important. It's hard to see this until later when things start happening. They can, there's a part of it, they see citizens as a part of a large mechanism that they can do with as they please to achieve their goal. That's how they, in communist Russia, USSR, they move people from city to city and things like that and do whatever they want to because they see people as parts of their plan. Hitler's youth. That's like his personal army. Give your kids to Hitler at age 10. Basically what they were doing, they give to the Hitler. They're not seeing people as individuals. Immature politicians do not see citizens as separate individuals. They see them as we're working together to, you're just parts of you're a cog inside their machine. They use words like sacrifice. You have to give up your job so we can do this. You have to give up your family so we can do this. You have to give up your life because we want conquest. They use that. They use the word greater good. Listen, an immature politician uses the word greater good. Because what does greater good mean? That means your little good is not important to the greater good of the society. You are insignificant. This is an immature politician, because a politician is designed to represent somebody else. That's what the concept of democracy. The United States is a republic, not an actual democracy like that. We're a republic where you represent somebody and you don't go get elected and forget your people in your constituency and then just do what you want. But that's an immature politician. Their constituency is still in junk 20 years after they've been in office in Washington. Nothing's changed. Why? Because they're not concerned about their constituency. This is an immature politician. They use the words great goods. And they also these, and all such diminutive words that lessen the importance of the individual. They don't refer to the individual. They don't use the word individual. They use grand society. They use go forward. We're going to, this stuff like they're not thinking about the people. They're not. And this is how you can spot one, because they're not talking about you. CEO, they talk about the company. We're doing this with the company. We are doing this with the company, but it has nothing. He doesn't care about them. He'll fire 4 of them next week and not even care, because he's not concerned about the people. They don't use happy workers mean happy, make good business. They don't like that phrase. They don't care if you're out of work, as long as they feel safe and do what they're doing. This is an immature politician. 6, they forget that they are servants and not dictators. This is a very good sign to find out if someone is a immature politician. Because an immature politician does not, when their people need something, a mature politician will go try to figure out how to get the people what they need and what they see they need. Immature politicians, especially in a democracy or republic like the United States of America, they'll start writing off these mandates. We saw it during the artificial coronavirus pandemic. They start writing off these mandates. You're aware that, come on, in the spring, the coronavirus was going down and there wasn't a bunch of mask mandates. But the people, they started having fun telling people what to do. The CDC did not say shut down the American economy. Come on. These people forget. They leave off the fact that they're representing people, and they'll start making dictatorial decisions. This is a signification of an immature leader, immature politician, just like a parent making sweeping declarations. They don't care what the kid thinks. It's easy to find that I'm the pastor, I can do what I want to with the church. No, now you're leaving off being co-laborers with God. You're leaving off being brothers and sisters in Christ. See, they start thinking like they're a dictator. Like, for instance, they said, what was that? Someone smoking a cigar, eating caviar, drinking vodka, while the rest of the people in communist Russia were fighting at Stalingrad. Come on. You've seen those movies where the major showed up and the poor little German soldiers were all injured, and he's like smoking his cigarette in his nice little, train caboose, not his little train thing. Why? Because they're forgetting that they're servants. Jesus said the greatest must be servant of all. And Jesus said they just remove themselves of whatever. It doesn't matter if you're afraid. Immature leaders are fearful and they don't stand out and go forward anyway, but they forget. 7, they only use the statistics and information they want to falsely prove that what they're doing is right. That's pure manipulation and deception. Now, this is not a joke. You can find people, scientists who agree in global warming. You can find scientists who don't agree in global warming. An immature politician will remove the people who don't believe in global warming and post all over their little site. This is why we need to do this and stuff like that. They don't acknowledge the other side. That's immature. Immature politician does that. An immature politician will go find the statistics they want. The CDC has changed its statistics on how COVID actually killed someone by themselves, just COVID, versus how many people die with pre-existing conditions. But I have seen on State Department health sites that they will just leave off anything that says anything negative. Hey, listen, hydrocoxidone or whatever it was came out, the BBC News posted it. And I noticed that people did not post it in the United States of America, nor wanted anyone to know anything about it. Why? That's not a mature leader. If the people want freedom and health, you don't do that. And when the CDC does something or whatever, I've seen it already, immature leaders, they will go and look for, hey, look at this, and they'll grab these numbers and stuff like that, and they'll use what they want to substantiate. See, I told you 8 people died, so that means you need to do what I told you to do. See, but they don't grab all the statistics. What we're talking about is leaving off information so it appears. That's propaganda. You're doing wrong. That's what immature people do. They look for facts to substantiate their life. They don't look for facts to evaluate their life, whether or not they're doing correctly. We really want to know the statistics on coronavirus. We don't need you manipulating them. We don't need you hiding information. We need you coming against, someone who's trying to do something. If a doctor says this thing's working and you don't like the idea because you don't like President Trump, that's an immature leader. And if it's established, 35,000 doctors have said the lockdowns are not helping and they're worthless, and you're still talking about slow the spread? I read that October 20th. Yesterday, I read that. They're still talking like they were in March and April on this particular, whatever state, their health department, they're still using the word slow the spread. Why? Because they are withholding information so they can continue walking in whatever their fear or whatever. That's an immature leader. They only use statistics and information they use to falsely prove. That's just like someone bombs a place in a certain communist country, and so they say, hey, look, that's what the Christians did. Ha ha ha, see, the Christians. Someone shoots up a church. Ah, look, he was a Christian. Ha ha ha. They don't talk about all the wicked people who weren't Christians, who were atheists, who killed people. They leave that part off. They don't talk about the vast majority of house break-ins that were stopped because the homeowner had a gun. They just grabbed the one person who was shot in the middle of committing a crime. And they died because, they were in the middle of breaking into someone's home. They didn't come on. And they leave off all the statistics about people who were raped and killed in houses because the people didn't have weapons. They broke into the house, raped and killed the people. But see, that's not a statistic you need to see. They don't want the statistics that 1,500 people were shot, innocent people were shot, and half of them were black people, but the other half weren't. No, there's like every cop is killing. See, you're twisting statistics. That's an immature leader and an immature politician. Just like Obama put the kids it was just like 48 hours, but those kids were in a cell. They were they called it people called it cages, but they just created this holding block for these children just for a short amount of time. And then people twisted the information and said, Trump did it. No, my friends, Trump didn't do that. That's an old picture. That was from the Obama administration. But immature politicians do that. They twist stuff. So how to spot an immature politician real quick? They don't acknowledge established history concerning different political thoughts and ideas. They think more highly of themselves, using phrases about knowing more, referring to the people as a separate group from themselves. They tend to stay away from phrases like my fellow Americans and fellow citizens. 3, they treat the money that they get from taxes as their own. So they're not good stewards. 4, they use the government as a vehicle for their own influence, wealth, or political agenda. 5, they see citizens as part of a large mechanism. They don't see you as an individual. You're part of a mechanism to achieve a goal they're trying to get. Just ants. 6, they forget that they are servants and not dictators, especially in democratic republic countries. They get up there and they start forgetting that they're a servant. That's why some of the countries use the word prime minister. And 7, they only use the statistics and information they want to falsely prove that what they're doing is right. See, this is why I'm doing this for you, ignoring 99 other articles that go against what you're doing. So Jesus said you'll know them by their fruits. No logic in kidding around. You might like them or not. They might be a great speaker, might be laid back. Who cares? They're immature. Notice them and don't vote for them again if, for instance, you don't vote for them, period, and don't vote for them again if you already made the mistake the first time. Live, move, be.